Hello everyone, welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. I hope you guys can hear me. Let me know in the chat box, everyone. And if you are joining me here, please say a quick hi in the chat box. This session, of course, is primarily aimed at 2023 CLAT aspirants. But if you're targeting CLAT 22, even then it can be relevant. So stay tuned and, of course, say a quick hi, everyone. Okay. Now, let me clarify something in the beginning itself. This session is about newspaper reading. If you're watching me after the session is over, then also make sure you understand that I am not really going to talk about how to build your GK. I am going to focus more on how to read newspapers because a lot of students get highly confused, especially when they start reading newspapers for the first time in their life. कुछ स्टूडेंट्स ने कभी भी पहले न्यूज़पेपर नहीं पढ़ा होता है ज़्यादा एंड सडनली दे आर टोल्ड न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ लो न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ लो न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ लो एंड दे बिकम हाईली कंफ्यूज कि क्या पढ़े और क्या छोड़े राइट दिस सेशन इज फॉर दोज सो स्टे ट्यून्ड if you are somebody who has been reading newspapers regularly then probably you already have some good idea about it, but otherwise you must watch this till the very end. All right, Nandini, Chorus, Nisha, Sarvari, all of you, welcome. Falguni. So I have clarified this in the beginning itself. This session is about newspaper reading, and especially if you're targeting CLAT 23, it's going to be very relevant. If you're targeting 22, then also you can stay, no problem. So let me quickly take you through a couple of things we are doing here at BYJU'S for you guys. So first of all, if you're targeting CLAT 22, we have launched our crash course batch number 3. So if you are still thinking whether to join or not, my suggestion is just come for trial classes and straight away join, because you'll be taught by the very best in the field. You would get regular classes, live classes, you would get tests, you would get doubt sessions and motivation sessions. So we ensure that you just you are not underprepared, you prepare absolutely fully well. This crash course will cover all the needs in case you have still not started preparing for CLAT 22. Please go ahead and join. इससे अच्छा कोर्स नहीं मिलने वाला, correct? Now, if you're targeting CLAT 23, we have launched our next batch, foundation module. You can come for free sessions and you can also, of course, decide to join us. This is targeting CLAT 22, 23, but remember guys, CLAT 23 will take place in 22, so you don't have that kind of time. है ना? Time थोड़ा सा कम है. You'll be taught by the very best in the field. There's no doubt about it, with all the content that is required. If you're targeting non-CLAT exams like MHCET, ALET, SLAT, BLAT, we have launched our batch number 2 for this, and today I have a class with this batch. So we have started, and you're most welcome in this batch. In case you are thinking, let me take up a non-CLAT batch, तो ये non-CLAT exams को target करके इस batch को launch किया गया है. Okay. Now let me see who else is there. Asmita, Preeti, hello. Navya, hello. Good afternoon, guys. So let me start by asking you a very basic question. So what do you think is the answer to this question? Should I read? Even if you're targeting CLAT 22, no problem. I think you have similar queries. पूरा पेपर पढ़े क्या? Newspaper has 22 pages. My newspaper has 36 pages. सारे पढ़ लूँ, ad भी पढ़ लूँ साथ में. There are so many news items. कौन सा छोड़ूँ, कौन सा पढ़ूँ? If I read the entire newspaper, it takes a lot of time. क्या करना चाहिए? Correct. So what is the answer? I think the answer is very clear, right? You don't have to read the newspaper cover to cover. नहीं करना है. You have to be very, very careful when you're reading a newspaper, because you do it every single day. If you do it wrong, you would lose a lot of time, large amount of time in doing something unnecessary. Let me give you an idea. This is March 1st. Suppose you're writing CLAT 23, that's in December. You have about 9 months left. Suppose you read newspapers per day for 1 hour. That's 30 hours per month average. Suppose you read half an hour of newspaper, which you should not read. You are wasting 15 hours per month on something which is unproductive. and multiply that by 9, so that's close to 135, and you are going to waste those many hours doing something that may not be useful. So if you're watching me after the session is over, you can watch me a little fast also, 1.25x पे देख लेना, no problem, but याद रखना पूरा न्यूज़पेपर कवर टू कवर पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं होती है. न्यूज़पेपर आप दो रीजन से पढ़ते हो, वन इज टू मेक योर जीके स्ट्रॉन्गर, सेकंड इज ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन वर्क ऑन योर लैंग्वेज थ्रू न्यूज़पेपर रीडिंग. दोनों ही पर्पज से हम न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हैं, है ना. तो कवर टू कवर नहीं पढ़ना है. दिस क्वेश्चन इज वेरी क्लियरली आंसर्ड, आई होप सो. करेक्ट. नव्या, वेरी करेक्ट. एब्सोल्युटली. प्रीति, यस, इंपॉर्टेंट न्यूज पढ़ना चाहिए, बट हाफ द टाइम जनता आस्क्स मी कि सर इंपॉर्टेंट क्या होता है. दैट्स ऑल्सो बिग क्वेश्चन एक्चुअली. I'll give you an idea, okay? But पहले जरा क्लियर कर लेते हैं. Which newspaper we recommend Hindu and Indian Express? Does it mean you cannot read other newspapers, for example, the Economic Times or even Times of India or some regional newspaper? I cannot say that, but we prefer these two newspapers primarily because इनसे बहुत सारे CLAT में पैराग्राफ्स आ चुके हैं, इनकी लैंग्वेज बहुत अच्छी है, इनका कवरेज बहुत अच्छा है, and they are doing a beautiful job. So I think these two newspapers we highly recommend. But अगर आपको कुछ और पढ़ना है तो I will not say don't do it, but make sure you read at least one of the two. इसके अलावा और पढ़ना है तो you are most welcome. But आपको कोई किसी न्यूज़पेपर की आदत है, you have been reading it for last 3-4 years, you want to continue, no problem, you can add one more, है ना. दो, एक से दो भले दो पढ़ लो, क्या प्रॉब्लम है. आई होप दिस क्वेश्चन इज आंसर्ड, राइट. सो वी रिकमेंड दीज टू न्यूज़पेपर्स, बट यू कैन रीड समथिंग एल्स आल्सो. यू कैन जस्ट ऐड इट टू द करंट न्यूज़पेपर दैट यू आर रीडिंग, वन ऑफ द टू. और अगर यही पढ़ते आ रहे हो तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, देन यू डोंट नीड टू बॉदर एट ऑल. करेक्ट. नाउ द थर्ड क्वेश्चन. A lot of students ask me, I stay in a small place. हमारे यहाँ इंडियन एक्सप्रेस नहीं आता, हिंदू नहीं आता. I stay in a small place. Metropolitan editions नहीं आते. What should I do? Can I read e-newspapers? The answer is yes, you can. But if you can get a printed copy, prefer that. Why? Because the exams you're targeting, they are as of now offline. You should have the habit of reading offline stuff. Second, when you read an offline newspaper, you tend to browse fast. आपको न्यूज आइटम जल्दी दिखते हैं, and of course it also reduces the unnecessary screen time. तो अगर अभी तक आदत नहीं है न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की और आपको शुरू करना, आई थिंक कैरिंग फिजिकल न्यूज़पेपर इज अ बेटर आइडिया. करेक्ट. आई फॉर एग्जांपल रीड फिजिकल न्यूज़पेपर्स. ई न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने का मजा नहीं आता. करेक्ट. सेकेंड इज इन ई न्यूज़पेपर लुकिंग फॉर न्यूज आइटम becomes problematic. So if you have a tab, reading is easy. If you have a laptop, it's slightly more difficult. Things like that. हालांकि इंडिविजुअल प्रेफरेंस भी होता है इसके अंदर, बट आई होप यू गेट द बेसिक आइडिया. करेक्ट. तो आप देख लो. वैसे आई वुड रिकमेंड यू रीड अ फिजिकल न्यूज़पेपर एज फार एज पॉसिबल. करेक्ट. ओके. नाउ नव्या, in fact remember guys, I have actually thought of all the possible questions you would ask. तो मेरे पास सारे क्वेश्चंस भी हैं नव्या और आंसर्स भी हैं, सो जस्ट स्टिक अराउंड. ओके. तो अब अगला सवाल क्या आता है जो भी नव्या ने पूछा है, how much time should I invest? I have received answers from students in different classes that sir I give 3 hours reading newspapers. मैं 2 घंटे न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ता हूँ, मैं 3 घंटे पढ़ता हूँ, एंड फिर भी मेरा जीके अच्छा नहीं हो रहा, वगैरह वगैरह. Forget the GK part, just focus on the amount of time. 3 घंटे इफ यू रीड न्यूज़पेपर एवरी सिंगल डे, तो बाकी काम के लिए टाइम तो कम ही बचेगा ना. You will have a big problem. So listen to me very carefully everybody, especially if you are starting it right now. If you are thinking of reading newspaper, start with a tight budget. Don't start with unlimited time. Don't start with 3 hours. Tell yourself you will not read the newspaper for more than 45 minutes or max 1 hour. Now you ask me why so? GK is very important. I agree, very important. Why time limit? Let me give you the basic reason behind it. The first reason is that when you have a tight budget in terms of time, you tend to be more attentive and you try to read fast. Correct? Common sense, common experience. When we have too much of something, we tend to waste it. Right? Look at the way we are wasting रिसोर्सेज लाइक एयर, वाटर, व्हाट नॉट. ज्यादा होता है ना तो बर्बाद करते हैं. बजट कर लो. 1 घंटे से ज्यादा मैं पढ़ूंगा ही नहीं. तो अब ध्यान देना पड़ेगा, जल्दी भी पढ़ना पड़ेगा बिकॉज टाइम ज्यादा दे नहीं सकते. Second, when you do that, when you have a time limit, what happens is you prioritize. Accidents, accidents reported at 3 places in the city. अब मुझे पता है मेरे पास 1 घंटा है. I have only 1 hour. If I read this, it's not going to serve any purpose, and I will end up losing maybe 5-7 minutes. बाद में पढ़ लूंगा, नहीं पढ़ूंगा. Let me avoid it. When you have time limit, you do that. When you do not have time limit, when you are sitting on a sofa with a newspaper, you're reading for 3 hours, तो कुछ भी पढ़ लोगे. You'll read all the ads also, maybe matrimonial ads also. So I hope this point is very clear, everybody. Have a time limit. Very important when you are reading newspapers. I'll not elaborate further, but I hope you get the point. Now, I hope your question is answered, correct? Teja, I'll come to that. Teja, Naveen, okay? Don't worry. I have all the questions written already, right? Questions already and answers also. So let's go to the next one. Then what pages should I read? Because I have only 1 hour. Very simple, common sense. Must read newspapers. Pages are front page because the page is about all the important news items. Second is international page because you guys get a lot of questions from there also in the GK section. And third is editorial because editorial is all about opinion, right? What the newspaper thinks, what multiple writers think, what important people in the society think. So 3 pages, do not compromise on. Now see, common sense. 60 minutes you have, 3 pages are must read. You have 20 minutes each. Now decide where to spend what. You would generally see front page will take not more than 10 minutes to read, but editorial will take more time, correct? That's what in fact just now Teja Naveen told me also. Now remember, Teja, when you give yourself a time limit, you will push yourself. You will skim, you will scan, you will try to understand what the author is saying from the headlines also, correct? Give a time limit. If you don't give yourself a time limit, what happens is you never push yourself, you never become fast, you never prioritize. Now, suppose you are like, I'm a very high speed reader. I can read front international editorial in half an hour. What can I do? Then maybe you go and read state news, regional news, business news, sports news. You read Bollywood also, I don't care. But priority has to be set very clearly. I hope the point is clear. Now remember guys, if you tell me that you can't read in a certain amount of time, what you're telling me is you are slow. You understand? You're slow, that's it. You have to push yourself. You have to tell yourself, no, I can do it. Nobody can stop me. This not setting a time limit is one of the biggest mistakes students make. And then they end up reading all the non-required news items. Correct? Accidents, dacoities, murders. Murders would be reported, you would notice, in half a page. And you would read the entire item. Because it's very interesting. But is it useful? Not really. Maybe a little from vocab angle, but not otherwise. So you have to make a choice. Now, next question that somebody has already asked. What kind of news should I read? What should I focus on? I have 1 hour. I have 3 important pages. Front, international and editorial. Now, where do I focus? Obviously, you would focus on, now this is very important everyone, long-term value news. Think in terms of 1 year. If you're targeting CLAT 22, think in terms of last 6-8 months. Think of a news item that is so important that it would be relevant even 8 months, 9 months from now. Let me give you an idea. I think we all agree that Ukraine crisis will remain important for next 6, 8, 9 months. But elections in UP is a hot potato right now. But will it be relevant for CLAT 23? Probably not much, but for CLAT 22 it can be relevant. So if I'm targeting CLAT 22, I will pay attention to what's happening in UP election. But if I'm targeting 23, I will ask myself, is it going to be very important? Now remember, your GK faculty, for example, here will help you with that. They are the experts, they will cover it, don't worry about it. But focus on long-term value. If the point is clear, please let me know in the chat, everybody. Did you understand what I just said? Your GK faculty will help you, but you guys have to have a sense about this also on your own. Very important. So please don't waste time reading everything. Correct? Now, next one. So what can I avoid? You can avoid the short-term value news. Right? Share market fell by 2,700 points. It went up by 1,300 points next day. It doesn't really matter. Correct? But if you're writing CLAT 22 and if you heard about National Science Day, then you should know something about it because it can be important. You should know why it's celebrated, whose birthday is it, what did that person do, right? What award did the person get, what was his theory about, what was his scientific research about, and you can read all of it on Wikipedia in 5 minutes. So pay attention to long-term news items, avoid short-term value news items, and you will get help from your faculty members, but I hope you get the basic idea. So when you read the newspaper, have these points in your head very clearly. Now, this point is extremely important, so pay attention. If you look at CLAT 2021, the GK section had a combination of, let's say there were 5 questions in a set. The combination was 3 questions from current affairs, 2 from static GK on the same topic. So suppose it asked you about the recent visit of the Prime Minister to Bangladesh. I'm talking about CLAT 21. So one question was about the recent event, but one question was about the founding father of Bangladesh. When was he hanged? Something like that. Yeah, the question was, I think, on what date was he hanged? Now just see, the question is not only about current affairs, it's also about the same event, but the static part of it. You have to build that kind of understanding. And that is why, remember everybody, when you are reading any major news item, Ukraine for example, please spend 10-15 minutes in your spare time to read about that particular major news items, whatever the news item is about, background, history, geography. For example, if you look at the major characters of the Ukraine and Russia war, Putin and the president of Ukraine, whose name I have forgotten. So without Googling, who can type the name of Ukrainian president? If you take more than 5 seconds, I'll assume you do not know. Okay. Let's see who sends me the name. The Ukrainian president. Without Googling, okay? No cheating. Spelling, don't have to bother, okay? Just send me the name. Now the amount of time that it took to respond, I think some of you were probably looking for the spelling. Correct? Yes. Now, Preeti Kashyap, you do not know, nahi chalega. Ukraine is the hottest potato right now, correct? Zelensky. Yes. Now, yes. Bhavika, very correct. Now, if you do not know about the major characters who are in the news, then there is a problem because you might get questions. For example, let me give you some basic idea. What do you need to do? Ukraine, read about Ukraine on Wikipedia a little, geography, history, a bit of it. Don't go back to 2000 years. Maybe it will start from World War II, because after that every country has a very peculiar history. Read about Putin, read about Zelensky. You would discover that both these guys are actually LLB graduates. This war is between 2 lawyers. Very interesting. So find out about the places. For example, ruble versus the currency of Ukraine. I have forgotten the currency. Yaad nahi aa raha. I think it is rupiah. Can you help without googling? You can write I don't know also. Correct? Pretty no problem. Ishika, Joe Biden. बेचारा दुखी हो जाएगा, वो यूक्रेन का प्रेसिडेंट कब से बन गया, है ना। ओके, सो रिमेंबर ऑल आई एम सेइंग इज, देखो क्वेश्चंस ऐसे बन सकते हैं, रशिया का करेंसी रूबल है, यूक्रेन का क्या है, क्वेश्चंस कैसे भी बनाए जा सकते हैं, राइट। थोड़ा सा रीड कर लो। So first identify what can have a long term value and then read about it. Go to Wikipedia. Wikipedia से अच्छा क्या है, correct? So whatever newspaper you are following, very good, but do a bit of research, correct? Right? During World War II, Hitler's plan was to occupy Ukraine and make sure the entire food grain grown in that area is sent out to the German army. They had a plan to starve Ukraine, all the 5-6 million people who were living there. So you should know how many people live there right now and things like that. तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग हो जाता है, यू वुड रिमेंबर थिंग्स फॉर लॉन्गर इफ यू नो द हिस्ट्री, करेक्ट। सो जस्ट डोंट रीड व्हाट द न्यूज़पेपर इज टेलिंग यू, गो बैक एंड रीड समथिंग मोर देन दैट, correct. For example, Ukraine was promised that if they give up their nuclear weapons, they will be given protection. Now, do you realize what kind of a lesson this is for the countries who have nuclear weapons? Now, tomorrow, if North Korea is told you give up your nuclear weapons, we'll protect you in case there is a threat. किम जोंग उन तो हाथ खड़े कर देगा, बोलेगा ना ना ना, लुक एट यूक्रेन, हम नहीं करने वाले, हम नहीं मानेंगे, हम तो रखेंगे, आप लोगों का भरोसा नहीं है, करेक्ट। सो गो एंड फाइंड आउट अबाउट नेटो, गो एंड फाइंड आउट अबाउट वॉर्सो पैक्ट। तो वॉर्सो पैक्ट क्या था, करेक्ट, नेटो के अगेंस्ट बना था, व्हाई डिड इट नॉट वर्क और वट एवर हैपेंड। तो बैकग्राउंड में जाओगे तो आपको न्यूज समझ में ज्यादा आएगा, याद रहेगा, और विकीपीडिया से ज्यादा अच्छा क्या हो सकता है, करेक्ट, right? Yes, world gaming. Yes, Hrivani is the, they also call it Hrivani, I think, is the currency of Ukraine. But my point is not to check your GK. I hope the point is clear. मैं GK नहीं पढ़ा रहा, ना टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, आपको GK फैकल्टी आपकी GK पढ़ाएंगे, बट मामला समझ आ रहा है what I'm trying to tell you. So remember guys, when you do your own research, when you take responsibility, when you go and do some research, देखना कितना मजा आएगा तुम्हें जीके पढ़ने में और कितना मजा आएगा तुम्हें चीजें समझने में, करेक्ट। यूक्रेन फॉर एग्जांपल यूज्ड टू बी द न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स हब ऑफ यूएसएसआर, तो उन्होंने फिर अपने न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स दे दिया और उसके बदले में वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज ने बहुत सारा पैसा दिया, उनको हेल्प किया, और अब बाद में उनकी बात लग गई। तो गो एंड फाइंड आउट अ लिटिल मोर अबाउट इट, सिर्फ न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने से नहीं होगा, थोड़ा सा खुद का रिसर्च करना पड़ेगा, करेक्ट। ओके चिराग, ओके, गुड टू सी यू। Umakant, thank you. All right. So please remember guys, if you look at CLAT 21, you have to work on static GK also a bit, because last year questions आए थे और आपको तैयारी करनी चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से, right? Now one more thing, when you read newspapers, pay attention to often repeated words. If a word is asked repeatedly, if a word is used repeatedly, थोड़ा रिसर्च कर लो वर्ड्स के ऊपर, डू सम रिसर्च, फाइंड आउट द मीनिंग, फाइंड आउट 5 synonyms, 5 antonyms, find out the origin of the word, pay attention to phrasal verbs, idioms. Newspapers use them all the time. This Ukrainian crisis has set off an economic crisis in Russia, set off. तो फिर आप जाके देखोगे सेट वर्ड के डिक्शनरी में 50 से भी ज्यादा मीनिंग्स हैं, हाफ ऑफ देम आर फ्रेजल वर्ब्स एक्चुअली। तो आपको थोड़ा रिसर्च करना पड़ेगा यार, सेट ऑफ क्या होता है, सेट ऑन क्या होता है, सेट आउट क्या होता है, करेक्ट। एंड ऑलवेज पे अटेंशन टू ओपिनियन पार्ट। सो यू रीड अ पैराग्राफ एंड यू पे अटेंशन टू ओपिनियन पार्ट, तो क्या होगा, योर सीआर विल ऑल्सो बिकम स्ट्रॉन्ग, बिकॉज सीआर इज ऑल अबाउट ओपिनियन। अगर ओपिनियन पकड़ना नहीं आता तो सीआर आपसे सॉल्व ही नहीं होगा, बिकॉज ओपिनियन इज व्हाट, ओपिनियन इज नथिंग एल्स बट कंक्लूजन ऑफ द ऑथर, यू नो दैट, राइट। तो जैसे मान लो जल्दी से इस पैराग्राफ को पढ़ते हैं एवरीबॉडी, प्लीज रीड एंड टेल मी व्हाट इज द ऑथर्स मेन पॉइंट, कैन यू रीड एंड टेल मी दैट। या मैं और आसान कर देता हूं, इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर ऑथर ने दिया है क्या, हैज द ऑथर आंसर्ड दिस क्वेश्चन इन द पैराग्राफ, प्लीज रीड एंड टेल मी, इट्स फ्रॉम bbc.com। आई थिंक आई पिक्ड इट अप फ्रॉम बीबीसी. ये एक दो दिन पहले का ही न्यूज आर्टिकल से लिया है. जस्ट रीड एंड टेल मी, डज द ऑथर आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन इन द पैराग्राफ, and if yes, then what is the answer, or where is the answer located? Can you do that? चिराग, अभी तुम इसका आंसर बताओ, फिर मैं तुम्हें समझाता हूँ. ओके, ये एडिटोरियल से लिया हुआ पीस है. So just send me the answer quickly, as fast as you can read, okay? Teja, I'll answer your question. Okay, don't worry. Okay, Ragini says yes. Do you think the author answers the question? Or let me make it very simple. Does the author say yes to the answer or no to the answer? What do you think? सोच के बताना. Read and tell me, where is the opinion of the author? You have to find out the opinion. Alright, so World Gaming says yes, Ragini says yes, Teja says no. Okay, okay. Umakant says no. Alright. I'll wait for 5 more seconds, then I'll tell you. है ना? Okay, chalo. Let's have a look at this paragraph. Okay. Bhavika says yes. चलो पैराग्राफ देखते हैं. Would Putin press the nuclear button? Read this last line, everybody. What do you think the author is hinting at? If I ask you, is the author is saying definitely no? First option. Second option, definitely yes. Third option, maybe yes. And fourth option, maybe no. What do you think the author's point is? Would Putin press the nuclear button? I can very clearly see that you guys would say definitely yes, definitely no, can't say. In the paragraph also, the author does not anywhere really talk about it. But if I give you the maybe yes or maybe no, what do you think your answer would be? Is it going towards the yes or is it going towards the no? क्या लगता है? Or the Putin statement is, why do we need a world without Russia in it? What is the hidden message of Putin? Putin कहना क्या चाहता है? Don't you think the answer is actually given in the paragraph? Yes or no? The author is very clearly saying that, listen, if you watch Putin's words, Putin is clearly saying that, listen, if there is a requirement, we will use nuclear weapons. And look at this line. To anyone who would consider interfering from the outside, if you do, you will face consequences greater than anyone you have faced in history. Means what? The consequence would be unheard of, unprecedented. What can that be? Maybe a nuclear strike. Now, Putin also knows that if Russia does that, others will also attack. Putin says we don't care. You will finish us off, we will finish you off. रशिया नहीं है तो वैसे भी दुनिया की जरूरत क्या है? लुक एट द ऑडेसिटी. कहता है दुनिया में रशिया नहीं रहेगा कोई बात नहीं, बट दुनिया भी नहीं रहेगी, और ऐसी दुनिया का क्या फायदा जहां रशिया ना हो. So Putin is not saying yes or no definitely, but If you get the choice of maybe yes, the answer is definitely yes. This guy is not reliable enough. This guy will end up attacking the world, pressing the nuclear button for sure. Now remember, this is what is called reading and figuring out the answer. It's not given anywhere, but can we figure out from the information given, from the statements given, from the data, facts and figures given? Yes. Newspaper reading can help you there also. It can help you with the critical reasoning part. It can help you with vocab. For example, if you're reading this sentence, this paragraph, there are a lot of words which you can pick up and you can learn. Correct? जैसे देखो show off है. This is a phrasal verb. Correct? If you are looking at twirling the nuclear button, this is practically a metaphor. Nuclear button को अपने हाथ में घुमा रहा है ना? So you can do all this. So I have discussed what you can do, especially if you are starting newspaper reading. If you do what we have discussed today, very clearly you would do much better than what you are doing right now. And without fail, remember guys, newspaper reading is something which is sine qua non. It's something you cannot compromise with. करना तो है ही. तो आप बेहतर तरीके से करें तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा. Please try to follow the points I have discussed. I hope it would really help you build up your newspaper reading skills and it would become more effective. Correct? Let us know if you like the session. There's a like button. You can press that. That makes us very happy. And if you want to really improve everything you're doing, there is something very easy you can do. There's a subscribe button. Just press that and you would see ज्ञान की गंगा बहने लग जाएगी तुम्हारे ऊपर, बारिश हो जाएगी ज्ञान की. करेक्ट उमाकांत, that's correct. So Chirag, last answer to your question. When you read editorial, you get to know what major writers of the present time think about an issue. You also get a lot of information, you get a lot of facts and figures, you get opinion from both sides, for and against. And that is why editorial reading is very important. A lot of RCs and a lot of passages in critical reasoning also come from editorial pages. That is why we strongly recommend that you should start reading it. And please don't wait till you can prove whether it is good or bad. Start doing it. Ultimately, it's going to help you. So, ज़्यादा इंतजार मत करो, शुरू कर दो. Correct? So, thank you so much for joining me here, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I will see you again. Do spread the word. We do these sessions very regularly. And thank you so much for joining, everyone. Bye-bye. Please take care.